INFPs often walk through the world feeling different, sensing that there is something deep and powerful inside them, but struggling to name it, trust it, or use it deliberately. Because their gifts are subtle rather than loud, and intuitive rather than easily measurable, many INFPs grow up believing they are too sensitive, too idealistic, or not practical enough. In reality, they carry a set of psychological and emotional superpowers that are rare, transformative, and deeply needed in the world, especially in times of confusion, conflict, and disconnection. One of the most underestimated superpowers of INFPs is their moral clarity. This is not about rigid rules or borrowed beliefs, but about an inner compass that operates independently of trends, authority, or social pressure. INFPs often know what feels right or wrong long before they can explain it. This inner alignment allows them to stand for values, even when doing so is uncomfortable or unpopular. Many INFPs don't realize how extraordinary this is because it feels natural to them. But in a world where many people outsource their ethics to groups, systems, or incentives, this integrity is revolutionary. Over time, this moral clarity gives INFPs the ability to influence others not through force, but through authenticity. People sense when someone is acting from a place of truth, and it leaves a lasting impression. Another superpower is their emotional intelligence at a depth most people never reach. INFPs don't just recognize emotions, they live inside them. They can detect emotional undercurrents in conversations, environments, and relationships with remarkable precision. Often, they know how someone feels before that person knows it themselves. Because this sensitivity is inward-facing, INFPs may mistake it for fragility, but it is actually a refined perceptual system. When developed, this allows INFPs to be exceptional counselors, artists, mediators, writers, and healers. They don't offer surface-level comfort. They help people feel truly seen. That kind of validation can change lives. INFPs also possess an extraordinary ability to humanize everything they touch. Ideas, causes, stories, and even abstract concepts become infused with meaning when filtered through an INFP's perspective. They instinctively ask, how does this affect the soul? What does this mean for the individual? This is why INFPs often excel at storytelling, advocacy, and creative expression. They don't just communicate information, they transmit feeling. Many INFPs underestimate this ability because it doesn't always translate into immediate praise or measurable success, but its impact is long-term and deeply transformative. People remember how an INFP made them feel long after they forget what was said. There's also the INFP's resilience through meaning. While they may appear emotionally affected by setbacks, they have an uncanny ability to survive hardship by reframing it into purpose. Pain, loss, confusion, and disappointment often become raw material for growth, insight, and creation. INFPs are meaning makers by nature. When life breaks them open, they don't simply endure, they integrate. Over time, this gives them a quiet emotional endurance that is not loud or boastful, but incredibly strong. Many INFPs don't recognize this resilience because it doesn't look like toughness in the traditional sense. Yet few types can fall apart internally and still continue forward with compassion and tact. INFPs also have a powerful imaginative capacity that goes far beyond daydreaming. Their inner worlds are rich, complex ecosystems where possibilities are explored, identities are examined, and futures are tested before they ever happen. This imagination is not escapism by default. It is simulation. INFPs rehearse emotional realities internally, which gives them foresight about how choices might affect people and values down the line. When this gift is trusted rather than suppressed, it becomes a tool for visionary thinking. Many INFPs could lead change, create movements, or design deeply humane systems if they learn to honor their inner visions instead of dismissing them as unrealistic. Another superpower INFPs often overlook is their ability to love without possession. They care deeply, but they don't instinctively seek to control, dominate, or mold others. At their healthiest, INFPs offer a rare kind of acceptance that allows people to unfold into who they truly are. This creates emotional safety, which is one of the most healing experiences a human can have. Because this way of loving feels natural, INFPs may not realize how uncommon it is. In a world full of conditional approval and transactional relationships, their presence alone can feel like a refuge. INFPs also possess an internal alignment radar that alerts them when something in their life is off, even if everything looks fine on the outside. This can manifest as restlessness, sadness, or a vague sense of dissatisfaction. Many INFPs misinterpret this as personal failure or ingratitude, but is actually a guidance system pushing them toward authenticity. When listened to, it prevents them from staying too long in roles, relationships, or identities that erode their sense of self. Over time, this leads to lives that may look unconventional but feel deeply true. Another superpower is the INFP's capacity to hold hope without naivety. Even after disappointment, betrayal, or loss, many INFPs continue to believe in human potential. This is not blindness to reality. It is a conscious choice to believe that things can be better. That quiet hope fuels art, kindness, advocacy, and personal transformation. It allows INFPs to act as emotional anchors in dark times, reminding others of meaning when it feels lost. Another gift INFPs carry that often goes unnoticed is their ability to sense long-term emotional consequences. While many people focus on immediate outcomes, INFPs intuitively track how decisions will feel months or years down the line. They may hesitate or resist paths that look successful on paper because something inside them knows the emotional cost will be too high. This foresight isn't fear or indecision. It's deep psychological pattern recognition. When INFPs learn to trust this sense instead of overriding it to please others, they save themselves from futures that would have slowly drained their spirit. INFPs also have an unusual relationship with silence. Where others feel awkward or restless, INFPs often find clarity. Silence gives their inner world space to speak, and within that space they process insights that are difficult to access through constant interaction. This is why INFPs often experience breakthroughs when alone, walking, listening to music, or daydreaming. What many don't realize is that this capacity for solitude is a strength, not a flaw. It allows INFPs to recalibrate emotionally, hear their intuition clearly, and return to the world with renewed depth rather than burnout. Another powerful superpower is their capacity for symbolic thinking. INFPs naturally perceive life in metaphors, themes, and narratives. Events are not isolated occurrences to them. They are chapters in a larger story. This gives INFPs a profound ability to extract meaning from chaos and communicate it in ways that resonate emotionally with others. Whether through writing, art, speech, or quiet conversation, they can translate complex inner truths into symbols people feel rather than simply understand. This is why INFP insights often linger in the mind long after the conversation ends. INFPs also possess an instinctive resistance to dehumanization. They notice when systems, language, or cultures begin to reduce people to numbers, labels, or functions. Even when they can't articulate it immediately, something in them pushes back against anything that erases individuality. This makes them powerful ethical correctives in workplaces, communities, and movements. They may not lead loudly, but their presence subtly reshapes environments toward compassion and dignity. Over time, this influence can shift entire cultures, often without the INFP ever receiving credit. There is a deep emotional bravery in INFPs that is often misunderstood. They are willing to feel what others avoid. Grief, longing, uncertainty, existential questions. INFPs don't run from these experiences. They explore them. This willingness to descend into emotional depth gives them wisdom that cannot be taught. It also makes them invaluable companions during times of loss or transition, because they don't rush healing or offer hollow reassurance. They sit with truth, and that alone is profoundly stabilizing for others. INFPs also have a natural ability to recalibrate other people's nervous systems. Their gentle tone, attentive listening, and non-judgmental presence often make others feel calmer without knowing why. This is not accidental. It's the result of deep empathy combined with emotional restraint. INFPs don't impose themselves energetically. They create space. In a world saturated with noise and urgency, this subtle calming influence is a rare and powerful gift. Another often unknown superpower is the INFP's capacity for ethical creativity. When faced with constraints, they don't just ask, "What works?" They ask, "What works?" without betraying what matters. This leads to solutions that are both imaginative and principled. While others may compromise values for efficiency, INFPs instinctively look for paths that preserve integrity. Over time, this makes their contributions feel uniquely clean, intentional, and human. INFPs also have a unique ability to recognize latent potential in others. They see who someone could be before that person believes it themselves. This vision is not based on fantasy, but on subtle emotional cues and inner coherence. When INFPs choose to encourage rather than doubt this perception, they often become pivotal figures in other people's growth stories. Teachers, mentors, friends whose words change life trajectories in quiet but permanent ways. There is a slow burn power in INFPs that reveals itself only with time. They are not designed for instant dominance or rapid recognition. Their influence accumulates through consistency, authenticity, and emotional truth. Years later, people realize how deeply an INFP shaped their thinking, values, or sense of self. This long-term impact is easy to miss in a culture obsessed with immediacy, but is one of the most enduring forms of power there is. When INFPs begin to recognize these strengths, something shifts. They stop trying to become louder, harder, or more aggressive versions of themselves. Instead, they refine what they already are: depth, meaning, empathy, and vision, and discover that these qualities, when trusted, are not weaknesses at all, but forces capable of reshaping lives from the inside out.